Kapoor, and I lead the enterprise healthcare team here at Slack. I've been at Slack for 7 years, but almost 20 years ago, I was a medical scribe. If you do not know what a medical scribe is, it's basically a personal assistant for a doctor. And care coordination is a big part of that. As a medical scribe, I used a few things very often. A combination of Post-it notes, faxes, phone calls, emails, and phone calls to help coordinate care. And what really strikes me is that now, 20 years later, when I talk to physicians and providers, and they often tell me that they are using a combination of Post-it notes, faxes, phone calls, etc. to get work done. But there is absolutely a better way, and our patients demand it. So for that reason, I am very, very excited to introduce you to Dr. Romi Chopra. He is the CEO and Medical Director of Mimit Health and also the CEO of SIMS. SIMS is the only technology implementation provider for clinical organizations run by providers. Do you want to do a quick intro?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a Salesforce evangelist, to say the least, and maybe a super evangelist. They even gave me a badge for the fun of it. But really, I'm a physician, and my core passion is taking care of people. People ask me, what do you do? I say, I'm in the business taking care of people. And I have patients for 25 plus years. They followed me. And my mission in life is to help people lead their best lives, whatever that is. And for that, I chaired a lot of departments. I'm a tenured associate professor, blah, blah, blah. But those are all institution-centered. So 20 years ago, I gave up a academic chairmanship. I started Mimit Health and went on a path of developing a new healthcare delivery paradigm, what I call omni-channel healthcare. If you can't come to the clinic, we come to your home. If for some reason somebody's in a nursing home, we see them there. We do telehealth, but we are centered around you. And one of the things, and so this grew, it was very good. It's very effective. Salesforce, I stumbled upon it, started using it. They found out I was using it, and I've been at 7 Dreamforces, and I keep talking and hung out with Mark Benohoff, and I must be doing something right. And I got frustrated because SI partners, I didn't find one who knew healthcare well. So one is implementing the technology, but how do you take it all the way to it impacts a patient? So now I got a whole tech team. We are developed a management service organization, MSO, and I got an offshore development center. But I do surgeries every day. I have my headset, I have a scribe, I have a virtual assistant. I see a problem. I say, this is the problem, let's find a solution. We do it, we do agile, and we are implementing. So that's why I love Salesforce and what it does. And then we also have integrated with our EMR, so we do MuleSoft, all that stuff. And then a year ago, I discovered Slack. And here I'm talking about Slack. So.
Wonderful, wonderful. So speaking of Slack, how many of you are Slack users? Wow,
nice.
That's amazing. Okay,
I have a question.
Yes,
how many of you know what Slack stands for?
Good question.
How about 2 hands? You probably work for Salesforce. 3. So what Slack stands for is a searchable log of all communications and knowledge. If you're in a channel, so we'll talk about it, but imagine everybody collaborating on one patient, and now with Slack AI, you've got a log, you can search it, etc. So I'm jumping ahead, but I want to...
No, fantastic. Thank you so much. Yes, Slack stands for a searchable log of all communication and knowledge. And when we talk about Slack, particularly in the provider context, what we mean is that it's the conversational interface for all the communication that you need to have outside of your electronic health record. So let me give you a few examples of that. Let's say you have a billing issue that needs to be resolved. Slack is the place where your contact center agent connects with your revenue cycle person and perhaps even your care team to manage that billing issue as quickly as possible. Slack is also becoming the place where oncologists are coming together to review new publications, look at scans for a particular patient, and come up with the best care coordination plan for that patient. And lastly, another great example is the patient discharge process, which if you work for a provider, we know is extraordinarily disjointed. Now with Slack, we are connecting everyone via a channel internally and externally to streamline that process to ultimately get the patient to where they need to be as fast as possible, and also helping to generate more revenue for the provider by not having a patient stay in the hospital for too long of a time.
So I'm like Larry the Cable Guy, I get it done, and then I speak my mind. She works for Salesforce, she's gonna tell you Salesforce language. So I'm telling you a real story. This gentleman here, he's my lead tech architect. I stole him from Salesforce. And the way last year, I was his customer. And he moves to Chicago. And this is all with his permission, I'm gonna tell you this. He comes to my clinic to visit a customer. Next thing you know, he's my patient. And now I hired him 3 months ago. So obviously, we started using Slack. He's known Slack, so he has a personal Slack channel as a patient. And this trip on Friday, Sunday, he landed here and he forgot his meds at home in Toronto. And he would have had to go to the ER. Instead, what did he do? He Slacked his care team. They geolocated him here and found a pharmacy next to Moscone. And he went and picked it up. That I call medicine at the speed of life, just like Amazon does for you. So every patient gets a Slack channel for the care team to collaborate. The workspace that we have for patients are only those who can get private health information. But this allows us to democratize information. From the first time a lead, I may tell you this, but for the last 24 hours, I've onboarded 6 executives as my patients on Slack. Just right from here. And I have a team overseas. We have stuff here, all secure, all HIPAA compliant, Shield. Some patients were savvy enough. We give them a single user guest channel, so it's private, they can't see anything else. But every patient that we have, the entire team collaborates. His care team joins the channel right away. And I'm giving you details because a lot of you use Slack. But let's say all of a sudden I'm not part of the channel, they need me, they'll swarm me in at Chopra, at RCM. So a real example that you talked about, one of my dear friend's son is my patient too. And the person putting the data in mixed his ID from his insurance card. So he got a bill. Hey, young kid, he's 25, he got a $700 bill, he freaked out. So he texted our contact center. We also have a contact center and they can text the practice. And he was panicked, obviously, $700, he says, I have insurance. Normally, if you get a bill from your doc, office or hospital, you'll call one number, it'll be days and weeks and arguments and you're talking to some stranger. Within 2 minutes, the contact center agent who picked up that message on Slack, I saw the message on this channel at RCM picked it up, found the error, fixed it within 10 minutes. He got a message back, your problem solved. This whole thing took about 15 minutes. That's the power of Slack. So my team calls it a superpower. Everybody see that movie Lucy where people only use 10% of the power? We got rid of chatter, got rid of email, got rid of text, got rid of all the other phone calls. Now it's all on Slack. We have education channels, tech support channels, project channels, team channels. I have a little Slack overload, so sometimes I Slack off. I have to throw that in. But it's just been super, super powerful.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I'd actually love to hear you talk a little bit more about care coordination. I know you all are big Health Cloud users, and you've integrated Health Cloud into Slack. Can you share more about that story?
So, first thing is, once a patient comes in, why do you become a patient? Because you got a problem. My goal then is to first find out what the problem is, resolve that problem, and that becomes a care plan. So the first time we get a referral is somebody texts, call, I want to be a patient. That's managing as a lead. Then we do a patient 360, but you have other providers at home, other doctors, whatever. So with Health Cloud, we track all of that. All of that shows up on Slack. And then their care team is assigned. So you have a doctor, a nurse, a care coordinator, etc. Once that happens, every care episode, every time you visit, we actually track that as an opportunity. But we've converted it, we call it care episode, their flows, everything else. all that shows up in Slack. And Slack is beautiful that way. You can just do / find a record shared, but we've integrated with Salesforce too. On the Salesforce page for the patient, we see the Slack channel on the side. And as we are doing that, this collaboration is happening fast. So somebody needs pre-authorization, revenue cycle, now care coordination, somebody needs their meds. So on Canvas, we keep a list of what possibly needed, some alert notes, what language they speak. We've now taken Slack AI, and actually, I have a patient who's been with me 25 years. I've got literally 150 care episodes. Now they're all in his channel. I run Slack AI and say, give me a summary. There'll be documents that's there, we put that in. I could go on for a long time talking about how we do this. But so there's collaboration and it's care. Now what do you want as a human being? You want to live as long as possible, you want to have a great life, fulfill your potential, and you don't want to sell your house to get that deep basic care. So we're doing this better, faster, cheaper. I call it medicine at the speed of life, just like Amazon delivers stuff to your door. Again, I could go on someplace.
Yes, thank you so much. That's fantastic. One of the things you touched on is referrals. So a lot of organizations are leveraging Slack because it's the conversational UI that not only connects people inside your organization, but people externally as well. Can you share more about that?
Yes. So what we've done is sort of, let's say you have a primary care doctor, and they've sent you to me, and I'm the specialist. So the docs who work with us, we have given them a channel and one single user, so it's private. They can only see their patients. And if they want us earlier, what would happen is they would call, somebody scribble something, then we call you, go, I don't know, done. Or they send a fax, date of our existence. So now what we do is, if they have it, he's seeing a patient, takes a picture, takes it this, on Slack we see it. The patient referral team picks it up, starts processing it. They onboard them as a patient, and that process is done. When we finish the care episodes, whatever, we update them accordingly that way. So that referral process went from, we used to miss patients, a month later, they'd be pissed off, nobody called, now minutes, sometimes seconds. And that's part of what we do with referral. But also, let's say you gotta go get a test done, right? And I give you a script, you gotta go get your blood drawn. And you go somewhere, now I gotta see the lab test. So we've integrated Salesforce with Box, with other files, etc. I'll get a Slack message, at so-and-so patient, please review labs, click on the Box message, I go see it, I write back approve, or just an emoji check mark, whole team knows it. And we've done workflow automation in it as well. That once this is done, somebody knows they have to go schedule. I mean, we've done tons of things. For example, I'm the CEO too, so I need to know what was done, how much was done, et cetera, et cetera. With CRMA, with all the analytics, it shows up in a workflow on every Monday morning, every Tuesday. I may need updates about the patients, so that those updates also come with automated workflow.
One of the biggest questions we get is, hey, the doctors are resistant to change, or the clinical staff, or just the staff in general is resistant to change. What was it like to implement Slack at Mimit Health and some of the other organizations you work with through SENS?
Actually, the biggest complaint I get from my providers is they tell me they can't work anywhere else now. No documentation.
He doesn't work for us.
I don't. I wish they paid me, but they don't. I'm just, jokes aside, because you know what? Majority of doctors spend their time looking at a screen. Remember the last time we went to visit a doc? So we have scribes, we can serve. If I'm going to see a patient on my channel, I send a message, my scribe comes online. If I'm doing something else, he's listening to my conversation. We do the notes, I say these are the action items, do blah, blah, blah. And it's all processed, it's all moving right through. So how many of you don't use a telephone? How many of you don't use text messaging? How many of you think you don't have enough emails? How many of you think you don't get enough phone calls, enough things saying, can you check this? Versus, it's all in one place, and you gotta say yes to something. All you gotta do is check mark and start replying, yes, I did it in an email, and then I gotta see it, and check. And we've now created what we call a Slackopedia or Emojipedia on our Slack. So everybody knows this check mark means done. It actually triggers an action item and goes to the next step. So that efficiency, so once they get used to it, it's like cocaine, they don't go back. But we've had 1 or 2 docs who said, I'm not doing it. I'm like, dude, do me a favor, go find another organization where you can do work, because I'm not gonna pay you to be totally inefficient, etc. So there's that sense of discipline that comes in. In the organizations you work for, try telling Mark Benioff, I'm not using Salesforce, and see how long you'll be employed. So that sense of discipline comes in. And talking about change, I do a lot of leadership coaching and talk about behavior. People don't mind change as long as they are not being changed. And you've heard you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Make the horse thirsty first. Watch how it drinks. So we make our providers very thirsty. We show them how efficient this is. And once they get used to it, don't go back.
Absolutely, because they are, many of them at least, living in the world of post-it notes and faxes and text messages. Okay, I know we only have a few minutes left, and so I just wanted to ask a last question. What do you hope that provider organizations and also other organizations like pharmaceutical companies that work with HCPs take away from your message?
You know, one is that patient journeys are very complicated, and patients, if you have mice at home, you don't want a fancy AI mouse trap. You want to get rid of mice. Maybe that's a cat. Just eat your mice. My point is, you want to make it where you're using technology to make it easy, and this is one of those, and you connect everybody with the patient in the center of your universe. So we stay patient-centered, evidence-based, and you do it better, faster, cheaper. You're connected with your patient, you collaborate for their success, and to us, Slack has been the best place to collaborate within the platform. And all this data, by the way, lands up in a data cloud, which means all of this is available for Tableau CRM, where you can do unstructured data as well.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Are there any questions? Don't all raise your hand at once.
That's good. They're tired. They need some coffee. We'll be fine. You can always reach out to me if you have any questions. You find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only crazy dude Chopra out there. You type Chopra Salesforce and pop up. So.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Chopra, and I hope you all have an excellent Dreamforce.